Lorain has been very kind to work with us on many occasions in being the coordinator, the moderator, etc. And so without any further ado, I'm going to ask Lorain to step up. She will introduce herself. She will give you a little background of her entrepreneurial background and take it off from there. Lorain, it's all yours.
Thank you. I'm going to stand to do my intro, and then I'm going to settle down with the panelists. So my name is Lorain Smith, and I work for ECDI. Has anyone heard of ECDI? I see some head shaking and some head nodding. That's fine. I understand. So it stands for Economic and Community Development Institute, and essentially all we are is a micro lender, and we also do coaching, training, and those micro loans for small businesses who may not be able to get a traditional bank loan, who need help growing their business, who just need to network, who need training assistance to write a business plan, lots and lots of variety in what we do. We're located in Cleveland. Our website is just ecdi.org, and you can talk to me afterwards if you're interested in coaching, training, or lending for small businesses. So I have a little intro here before we get started. I wanted to provide a little background for tonight's subject matter, which centers around, like Lee said, seasonal entrepreneurs. In the 1965 classic hit Turn, Turn, Turn by the Byrds, we're reminded to everything there's a season and a time to every purpose. A time to plant, a time to reap, a time to build up, a time to break down, a time to rend, and a time to sow. I don't think they were talking about seasonal small businesses, but they might as well have been. Some businesses are perpetually operating with no regard to season, life events, holidays, or weather. But have you ever asked yourself what happens to an Ohio ice cream stand when the weather turns cold, or the holiday stores when it isn't in season, or go-kart parks when folks turn to indoor recreation? You're going to find out some of these answers from tonight's panelists, who will talk about a greenhouse, a food truck, a bridal boutique, and landscape design. So I'm just going to briefly introduce them, their name and their company, and then I'm going to give them each a few minutes to more adequately introduce themselves to you. So directly to my left, we have Dan Hawks with Hawks Greenhouse. Then we have Tony Nasrallah with Groundworks Land Design. Then we have Michelle Dorsey Griffith with Firehouse Grilling Company, a food truck. And then we finally have Kristen Schneider with Wed Altered and Moon and Back Boutique. So we'll go in that order. If you would just spend a few minutes introducing yourselves.
Hi, my name's Dan Hawks, as she said. We have Hawks Greenhouse business, which is just in Sheffield, Route 254, just a few miles from here. And the greenhouse was built in 1986. My parents and I built that greenhouse, and we built it on the site that I grew up. In 1965, when I was 3 years old, my parents bought a 2-acre farm there in Sheffield. That was farm country, and so was all this, if you remember. And I guess I was always in business with my dad. We grew up planting and sowing, literally, selling tomatoes under the elm tree and sweet corn. I paid my through college, my college tuition. And then after college, started in education, started teaching at a private school. So I needed to supplement my income a little bit there. And we were still farming, and we wanted to grow our own plants. So I remember looking at my dad, why don't we build a little greenhouse? And we did. And we thought, well, why don't we sell a few plants in the spring before we start farming? And we did. And that business really took off. And especially in 1990, we started growing all of our own products. And the customers responded to that, and we started building more greenhouses. So it's been a slow evolution for us, but we have more than a greenhouse business. We really are a 3-season business. Right now we're selling fresh produce, so we still have our hand in agriculture. We don't grow it all anymore. We buy it from local farmers, the Amish farmers, our neighbors, and I do still grow a little bit of that. So we have a summer business that complements the finishing of our greenhouse business. And then we do Christmas trees, wreaths, poinsettias, and Christmas kind of winds down our season. The only month I supposedly take off is January, but we're still usually fixing electrical lines, plumbing, and doing all the extra things around the greenhouse. And we start back in February. Though we're still working 10, 11 months a year, really our income is only about 9 months a year. So that may raise some questions you might have in your mind later on. I think I'll just stop there. How's that?
Awesome. Thank you, Dan.
Hello, I am Tony with Groundworks Land Design. We are a landscaping firm out of Westlake. I started this business back in, an idea was 08, 09, actually when I was attending this school right here, right after high school. So I've been in business for about 8 years, and just wanted to make a little cash while I was attending the school. And I had some bigger dreams and bigger ideas that led to bigger things. And I decided to focus on the landscaping business, and I grew the company. So we're kind of like him a little bit. So majority of our sales and business is done within 8 months out of the 12 months of the year. But we really focus on 150 workable days, and that's like where we plan on making all our money and survive throughout the year. But we came up with different ideas to continue having some type of income throughout the year. So we incorporated snow plowing for the winter time, and also we're slowly adding Christmas lights so that can keep us busy during November, December, and then also January when we take them down. So there's different things that we grew the company and added different avenues to continue growing our company. So we're still young, and I'm still in my 20s, so we're still figuring things out. So I've been in business my whole life, though. So I started my first business I was 17. So I just been in my family. My parents have owned their own business, so I was their little slave dog when I was 5 years old. Since I was 5 years old, doing 10-hour shifts on the weekend. No sleepovers, no playing. So, but it worked out because it did help me grow as a person and help me mature a little quicker than others and understand different values, especially when it comes to money and working hard. And I do truly believe, working harder will definitely pay off. So, like, our really busy time is April, May, June, July. Like, those 4 months are hectic. And when I say hectic, I'm putting like 100 hours a week. And yeah, it's crazy. There's no time. Like, you can't even sleep because you're just thinking about what do you got to do tomorrow, and it's just never ending. But as we grow as a company, we figure out things to streamline things properly with our new software and hiring the right people and stuff. But I can go on forever and talk about Groundworks, but but now we're actually in the process. We just bought land in Avon, and I'm gonna be building a facility out there to help us grow and also create other avenues for the wintertime, like selling firewood and maybe salt, and open maybe it's 5.5 acres of land. So we got a lot of things in mind. So patio furniture and that kind of stuff. But again, I can go on forever, so I'll just pass the mic. So.
My name is Michelle Griffith, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. My latest business is called Firehouse Grilling Company, and I am a recipient of ECDI, so if you guys ever get to use them, definitely take advantage of everything they have to offer, because I would not be where I am today if it was not for them. So Firehouse Grilling Company, we're not your typical food truck. We are actually a fire truck that we converted into a food truck. We have real firemen grilling up authentic firehouse food. We travel all over Northeast Ohio. We just started in June, and things are moving very, very quickly, very, very fast. We're actually going to be going national. We're looking at purchasing our second truck already. We were at Cedar Point the last 2 weekends, and Cedar Point actually tweeted out a picture of our fire truck at Cedar Point, and NASCAR contacted us. So we are actually in Chicagoland. I have a crew heading down there right now to do a 4-day NASCAR event. So it's huge. It's growing so quick. But how we differentiate is, like I said, I have real firemen that represent different cities throughout Northeast Ohio, and they do all the cooking for me. My husband is a lieutenant at Lorain Fire Department, and he's also the firehouse chef. So all the recipes that he has on the truck, he actually tests them out in the firehouse. And the firemen are the toughest critics. And I often ask him, well, how do you know if it's a really good recipe? He was like, the whole table is completely silent, and that's when I know it's a great recipe. But in addition to the food truck, we also have a photo booth that we have on the truck, complete with fire helmets, hose, and gear. So we actually get to capture all of their information in regards to their email address, their Facebook, their cell phone number. So when they take a picture, it actually gets to them one of those 3 avenues. So I actually get to retain their information, which I plan to utilize during my off season. I'll share more about that later. My other background is I'm a social media marketing expert. So I'm more behind the scenes, and Frank is more in front of the scenes. So that's kind of how we mesh the business together, and we work very well together. But that's enough about me.
Thank you, Michelle.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I have, like she mentioned, Wet Altered and Moon and Back Bridal. They are connected but separate businesses. I actually started in education as well. I was a teacher for about 4 years while I was building up Wet Altered. Stopped teaching in 2014, I want to say, and I had been starting Wet Altered for about 2 years before that. So Wet Altered launched in 2012. It was following up my original business, which was a wedding dress design label. So I was designing and sewing dresses on my own, and realized in that process how expensive it was to take those dresses to wholesale market in New York every year. If you ever watch the Say Yes to the Dress shows, they always show the crazy weekend with the runway shows. That's what I do. So I facilitate buying bulk square footage and bringing in smaller designers who would maybe not be able to afford to go on their own. So that's actually in 3 weeks. So we're getting very close to another very busy weekend. But it's a lot of fun. And then in the process of that, with the designers that I work with in Wet Altered, which involves the trade show booths as well as sales and marketing consulting and learning how the wholesale world works, especially in the United States market, because that can be different. So I have a lot of international designers that I'll work with for business consulting as well. A lot of those designers and I had some great relationships, and I wanted a home base, and storefronts in Cleveland are a lot more affordable than in other cities. So I had the chance to open and operate a bridal boutique as well. So that's the other part of my business. And part of the reason I did that is the seasons are completely the opposite. So the bridal boutique is very busy from January to about May. And then in about May, we start planning for the show in October. So I neither end completely. So it's not the same. I don't shut down. It's not like an ice cream store, but there's huge swings when it comes to income and people who are coming in. So it works well that they complement each other. The busy seasons are opposite. So, and I love both of them. They're great businesses. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you all very much for your intros. You covered sort of the basics of what makes you a seasonal business, and it sounds like a lot of you have already thought about how to combat that seasonality. So not everyone is going to answer every question. I want to make sure we hear from all of you. So just really quickly, I'm going to ask you to talk about your main product or service and what your busy season is, and that'll lead into our next conversation. So we can start at your end.
Well, like I mentioned, my local business is Moon and Back Bridal, or on the corner of Madison and Woodward in Lakewood. I actually just had Tony's fiance in for an appointment we figured out last week. But we focus on independent designers. All of them are based in the United States and Canada, more unique and less typical. We call it like bridal done differently. So there's just something that you wouldn't find at some of the other stores in the area, and it's a lot of fun. The busy season is definitely from January to April, although there's a slight busy season right around September and November as well, where some of the brides who are planning ahead will come in before holidays. But something like 45% of all engagements happen between Christmas and Valentine's Day. So every bride who's getting engaged in that like less than 2 month period gets really excited about dress shopping. So January through April gets really, really busy. And then the trade show stuff it's around, in New York and London and stuff. And I have a couple local designers that I work with who will be going with us. So that is local as well. But we're busy for the New York show in October, so it ramps up about 3 months before then, and then we're actually expanding into London in May, so we'll be busy. That one's going to overlap, which is why I just hired an assistant last week. So like Tony was saying, finding people to help with streamlining, because sometimes when you start to bring in a new season, the seasons start to overlap, because nothing is that clear-cut ever. So.
Beautiful. For this question, we'll go down the line. So Michelle.
So owning a food truck, obviously my tangible product is food. Intangible product that I sell is I sell myself. People buy people. They always shop the competition, but they always buy that person. So when we're out in front, like when we were at Cedar Point, we were selling ourselves. We were engaging with the customer. My season goes, I want to say it goes 12 months out of the year. I already have it in my mind. I'm going 12 months. I don't care if it snows here. We're going to figure out a way and we're going to do it. They have the IX Center. I'll have my food truck in the IX Center. And the advantage also is that we're mobile. So we can go down to the Carolinas. We can go down to Florida. We can go down to Texas. We can go wherever they're willing to have us. With having a fireman schedule, my husband has a lot of time off, and we can recruit other firemen from different firehouses to actually cook for us in those cities. So the typical food truck season starts in about May and goes until, I would say, the end of October. And then a lot of food trucks shut down because they don't want their lines to freeze. But when we fabbed out our fire truck, we actually took that into consideration. So our lines won't freeze because it's all self-contained within a very tiny unit. So we're already looking ahead and forecasting, okay, what can we do differently than what other food trucks do, and how can we self-sustain throughout the winter? And again, my tagline is not your typical food truck.
Nice tagline. So I was just saying earlier, our busy season is between April and July. The reason being, grass is growing crazy, and once the sun comes out and the weather warms up, everyone's all hectic about doing the spring cleaning, and then realizing the plants look bad, their lawn looks bad. So about 20% of our business is maintenance. So when I say maintenance, is like coming out, and we have a couple of lawn crews that cut grass, and then enhancements, which is prune and trim. So a lot of pruning and trimming gets done in the spring, and then mulching, edging, all that good stuff. But majority of our business is when a new home gets built, we're coming in and designing their outdoor living space. So we're creating outdoor patios and their landscaping and in-ground pools and lighting, irrigation, all that good stuff. So that keeps us pretty busy, and that's the majority of our business. And that's where majority of our big ticket items are, sales are, new home installs, new construction is what we call it. So that's about 4 months of the year is really busy doing like spring cleanups. But then during March, it's when people really get anxious and they start designing and are calling and planning to do the installs because they know their house is getting built and they're going to get done. So I feel like when homes are getting finished, they're typically right after July. So from now to like December, we're just doing nothing but installs. And there's so many homes getting built right now, and luckily I feel like the economy's doing good, and people are building, and people are not skipping on things, and we're doing like all the bells and whistles you can think of, from the light and irrigation and the special plants and inlays and patios and all that good stuff. But yeah, so that's what the majority of my business is.
Our bread and butter is definitely plants. We have about 20,000 square feet that we can grow in, and we grow about 4,000 hanging baskets, 10,000 flats, various 5-inch and 4-inch material, and we do it all ourselves. We plant it all, either from seed that we germinate or young plants, and we really don't have a lot of mechanization. And so people come in and they said, how much help do you have? You're looking at it. My parents are 82 and they still help me. But in February, March, and the beginning of April, we are in this beautiful 70-degree greenhouse while it's snowing outside. And those are the best months of our year because we don't have to deal with customers yet. So even though we may be putting in a 50-hour a week then, if I need to go and pick up my son at school or whatever, I can go take an hour off. So it's really nice. It's flexible hours. But once you open up the door for customers, the world changes because our hours are 7 to 7, pretty much 7 days a week. Sunday we gear back and we're only open 10 hours. And I really want to be there all of those hours. I want the customers to come in and see my face or my wife's face so that they can have a knowledgeable person answering their questions. So once that door opens in April around Easter time, we are locked in. And unlike you, my world gets real small. In the month of March last year, I didn't put gas in my truck the whole month. So that tells you I live a mile from there. So it's a mile there, a mile back, and that's pretty much where I live. It's great in one way, but again, the world gets pretty small for us. That's definitely our busy time. I guess work hours, I finally found someone that works longer hours than me. In May and June, we work about 80 hours a week. It's truly long days. But then it kind of slows back, and it seems like in July and August, I'm down to 40 hours. It almost feels like I'm on vacation, and so that's nice. But there's benefits as well. I'm around my family. My parents are still active, so I get to be around them in their later years. My son was home from college. He worked in May with us. My wife's active in the business. So those are awesome things that you really can't put a price tag on when it comes to our business. I'm sure we'll talk about money, and that's so important because you can only have a business so long if you're losing money. And so in the month of May, really, that's our cash. More money comes in May than pretty much all the other months of the year for us. And what's important is we have good weather. And so I guess I'll just bring that up real quick. A snowy day in May, like we had this past May, is horrible. If you remember, we had a snowy Sunday, the week after Mother's Day, and you don't get those days back in our business. So that's something to consider, and I just wanted to throw that out right now.
Awesome, thank you. So you've all talked about you can hold on to it.
I'll just
So you all talked about your bread and butter, whether it's 6 to 9 months, for some of you even a little bit longer. Your bread and butter is seasonal, even though you've developed supplemental products and services to sustain you, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. What I wanted to talk about, this question is also for all of you. Many department stores rely really heavily on successful holiday sales in order to meet their sales goals for the entire year. They're operating all year, but they rely on their holiday sales. And if it's a dismal holiday sale for them, it's bad sales results. So what I'd like to know is, how heavily do you rely on your initial bread and butter product and the seasonal sort of busy time of the year to keep your business sustained? So we'll start with Dan.
Sure. Mother's Day weekend is huge for us. And so you're praying to God for great weather on that weekend. Though you can make some of that up. I mean, people are going to come out and buy a tomato plant next weekend if they can't buy it because of the weather on Mother's Day weekend. Some of it I know we don't, because they'll maybe go buy chocolate for mom instead of hanging baskets. So that weekend, I think, is more important than any other weekend in our business and what we do for Mother's Day. Christmas with Christmas trees, it seems like the bad weather brings people out. It's like, okay, we're sitting here on a sunny day not selling much. Okay, we get 18 inches of snow, and now everybody wants to buy a Christmas tree. And so it kind of acts in reverse on that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
And it's so much harder to work in the snow, but that's okay. It's fun.
Thank you.
We're kind of in the same business almost. So I install plants, but I don't sell plants. I mean, I do sell them, but not wholesale, or retail, but just wholesale. So when I look at our season, I think of 150 workable days, maybe push it 160. So when we're creating and I've learned this too over the years, and a lot of people don't understand this, and I admit I didn't either, and this is where it costs companies money, and it did for me, because business is flowing, money's flowing, everything's good in the spring, but then when you come to your off season, you're like, all right, well, I burned all my cash, what am I going to do? So when we look at the 150 workable days, it's overhead recovery that people don't really think of. So oh yeah, I did great. I made $3,000 today. Oh, that's great, but it really is not that good, because then you got to think of the other 4 months when you're not making that money. So we rely on spring and summer, and then fall, and then we've over the years we came with different avenues of cash. But I budget in 150 days to make money for the rest of the year, the whole year, and that's what has helped us. So we have our standards, we have our pricing, and we stick to them. Yeah, we work with customers and provide good pricing. We're very fair, but we decide to go above and beyond and keep high quality and stick to people who are willing to spend money on high quality landscaping. And we're a very detail oriented company, and we have salary employees, so they're they still need to get paid in the winter no matter what. So I budget everything in 150 days. When I say budget, I mean new equipment, breakdowns, employees, new hires, like, our rent, our insurance, all that good stuff. And that's like very important, just to think of overhead recovery. It's huge.
Thank you.
So as you were saying, Q4 in the retail world is huge because that's where you're going to do the biggest bulk of your business is Q4. Well, for a food truck, as you know, it's very seasonal. So what we are doing is I think of me and my team as squirrels. We are hustling right now. We are hustling. Talk about 80 hours a week. I do the payroll for our truck, and I think my husband had like 110 hours last week, and it's huge because we're hustling this whole entire quarter, but we're also saving a lot of that because I still have loan payments, I still have insurance, I still have workman's comp. I still have all of these bills. I have a rent, I have a commercial kitchen that I can't call them and say, well, guess what, I can't pay you in December because I don't have any gigs this month. They're not going to care about that. So we are actually storing away for the winter, like the squirrels, we're storing our money. And we do have a few things in the works, and I think you're going to get to one of those questions of what are we going to be doing self-sustained during the winter. So I have a few things up my sleeve, but yeah, we're already taking that into consideration, the slow months. And when we did our business plan and our projections and our budget, we took all of those items into consideration. We're hustling.
My season's the opposite. So the winter is when I actually get a ton of people in through the door. So snow does not help my business at all. But because it's by appointment, it's very different. So I can project a little bit because I know how many appointment slots I can take, and I know which months are going to tend to be full. So I know where I'm going to cap out for the most part. If a month is slow, that's unexpected. I can't always project that. But I know what my max is going to be. We're working to expand that. We were talking before we came up here, we're building a second fitting room. We just hired somebody to train to take in more appointments so that when the busy season hits, we'll be ready. And that's actually, storage and budgeting and all of that is important for the busy months. But one of the nice things about seasonal is I know November I can shut down for a week and have almost no effect on my profit. Like anybody who is going to come in November is not in a rush. They'll come in the next weekend. They don't care. And so we're shutting down for a week and we're doing the construction and we're going to get the whole store totally revamped and rebranded, and that way we're ready when the busy season hits and we don't have to worry about losing any momentum then. So that's one of the upsides to the seasonal business, and it's right after my season's done for October's show too. So November is my favorite month of the year, which is not normal for people. It's like the worst month you can possibly have when it comes to pretty much anything else in Cleveland. But and then we budget about We've had the store open for a little over 2 years, so we've seen really one functional busy season by the time we had all of our inventory in and all of our marketing systems in place and all of that kind of stuff. So we don't have as many records to go off of, but we go for about 50% of our slow months income is going to be covered by stored income from the busy month. So I expect to make 150% of operating costs in a busy month and 50% in a slow month, basically. And that's not a perfect formula, but it averages out over the course of the year.
Awesome. So the two, Tony and Michelle, really addressed the matter of, I liked this squirreling away concept of balancing your budget for heavy flow and weak flow, depending on what your strengths, strong seasons are. And you're all sort of addressing in a roundabout way what you do in the off season to really make money. I think Michelle and Tony kind of covered that a little bit. Would Dan and Kristen just talk briefly about what it is that you're doing in the off season to be sustained, if not squirreling away?
Yeah, I actually make more money with the consulting than I do at the bridal store right now, and that's something that I'm working on growing the bridal store, that it also is self-sufficient, but I've been able to fund a lot of the startup with the money that I'm bringing in with the consulting and the trade shows. And they're businesses that work very well together. My work in the consulting informs my buying decisions for the store so I can make better purchases, things like that. And my experience in the store gives me the ability to do the consulting to begin with. And they've all mentioned very similar things, like Christmas lights and plants have nothing to do with each other necessarily, but they work well with his marketing. So his marketing to reach people is going to work well. So having similar industry but different money flow, I think, is extremely important, because if one's bad, the other might not be. And that's what the consulting does for me. So during the slow season, because I can market any time of the year when it comes to the consulting, I pour all of my marketing into the summer for that. And it builds up a lot of leads, and that way I can supplement the income all year long with the leads that I generate there. And they do overlap. It's a similar industry. So finding that multiple income stream that's related but not dependent on each other, I think, is where you have to go.
Awesome. So Dan, would you talk about how you sustain your revenue year-round?
Sure. I think Ben Franklin said it, a penny saved is a penny earned. So I'm going to flip this around a little bit. When you look at budgets, the other side is your expenses. So I don't necessarily look at bringing money in January. It's nice to take a breather, you know. But those monthly expenses for us, I really watch closely. The phone bill, I hate the phone bill. I'm not using the phone for 3 months of the year. I just want to disconnect it, but I still got to pay that. So it came to just a small example where we had our networking and our phone all together. And I said, I can't afford $200 a month. Cut this back, please. I can do without that. So I'm looking at cutting expenses, especially those monthly expenses for the months you don't pay for. Wow, that really hurts. The other thing is you have to expect the unexpected. Things are going to break. And so when we budget, we do our best to put $10,000 in for something that we know it's going to break. Something's going to go down. A furnace is going to go down, something. So if you get by a lucky year and nothing breaks, you got $10,000 to put back into maybe, you know, expanding or doing something else. So that budget is important to do that. Expect the unexpected. And then any work you can do yourself. Manual labor is very expensive now. Oh my God, hire a plumber, an electrician. And I don't know much about any of that, but if I can do it, it might not be done right. It might take me 6 hours where a plumber could have done it in an hour. I feel like I'm saving money in doing that. So even though I might not be bringing money in January, I'm kind of saving money by doing those type of things. So that would be my answer. Also, we're looking at other ways to bring people on our property, like now. Even though we're maybe not be able to sell them a flower, if I can make that relationship with that person and sell them something, and then I tell them, oh, you should see our flowers in the spring, you know. You make a relationship, you're there to get them maybe in your door at another time of the year, and I think that's definitely what all of us are trying to do here. And it's truly about relationships with your customers. They're there to buy a product. I just attended a seminar in Michigan, at Michigan State a couple weeks ago, and they said, you know, if you only went to the store when you needed something and you only bought what you needed, our economy would collapse within a week. It truly would. And so when we get a customer in our door, we want to make that relationship with that person, smile, say how you are, can I carry this to your car, whatever it takes, so that they feel good about their experience here at the Hawks Greenhouse so that they come back.
Thank you. So you all talked, sorry.
I want you to have
Apparently. I don't want it, Dan. So you all talked about the sustaining year-round, and it looks like you've all really strategized about this already. One thing I'm curious about is marketing. How do you keep your business and what you do year-round in the forefront of our minds? What are your marketing tactics, strategies to keep your customers thinking about your business and what you're doing all the time to be serving them year-round?
She's the expert.
Okay.
Start with Michelle.
So one thing, the biggest misconception with social media is people think I have to sell, which that's totally false. You don't sell. What you want to do is you want to be an advocate for your customer. You want to provide them with something that they want to keep coming back. So a lot of times on our Facebook, I'll do a recipe. I'll do a DIY. They love quotes. I'll do a story. Some of our partners that we work in collaboration with our Firefighters Community Credit Union. They're actually one of our partners, and I sold them a sponsorship on my food truck. I also work with Western Reserve Fire Museum. I also sold them a sponsorship on our food truck as well. So that's a way to gain additional revenue that you normally wouldn't. So when you're talking about working with different partners and working in collaboration, that's big. But back to social media. So one thing that I do is social media can be taken from you at any minute. Facebook could be shut down, Twitter can be shut down, Instagram could be shut down. So what I really do throughout my season is I focus on increasing my database, because I can shoot them a direct email with what's going on, just say, hey, how are you? And really focus throughout the off season on keeping that energy level up and keeping that excitement going throughout that whole entire dead season. So that's one way that how I keep our name in the forefront. Now, mind you, this is a new business for us. We've only been a business since June, but I have other businesses, so I'm using my knowledge and expertise there for Firehouse Grilling Company.
Kristen, thank you.
Sure. A lot of social media. Bridal is almost entirely visual. It doesn't matter if you're marketing for the trade shows or the store. Obviously my targeting is different. For the store, I'm targeting Ohio, and for the trade shows, I am all over the world, and it's more wholesale, but that also determines a lot in how I'm marketing. So during the off season for the sales consulting and the trade shows, because that is seasonal as well for me, I'm focusing on one-on-one contacts. So a lot of what they've all talked about, but I have built my database in that almost entirely with cold calls and emails. I found that there's really just no other way for me to get a hold of the people that I get a hold of with nearly as much success. So my marketing there is that I call people and I email people one by one, and the return rate is over 50%, so you can't beat that.
Bad.
Yeah, but it's because it's wholesale. It's a small niche, like in the thousands. That's it in the world. So I can do that, right? That doesn't work for Cleveland brides. I can't just find them and call them and invite them to the store. So for that, we do consistent social media marketing throughout the year. We do bridal shows. But one of the things that we'll do is we use the slow season to get marketing content built in both businesses. So lead generators for the business side of it for consulting. So like I'll make webinar content, I'll create the courses that we use as email draws, because social media is so finicky. You want their emails. So we create that content during the slow season so that we have it ready to push when we're a little bit busier and we can pull the emails in. And then for the bridal store, we'll do photo shoots during that season so that when the photos are ready, we have them ready to market throughout the year. So kind of batching our content creation is the most effective use of our slow time.
Awesome, thank you. Tony, how does your marketing ebb and flow?
All right, so we do actually very little marketing. Majority of our business is all through referrals, and I would say like just networking with your peers and like little things like going out and going to, golf outings and, going out drinking, even like going to restaurants, pass your name, talk about yourself a little bit. I know that's, sometimes you can get a little cocky when you do that, but it's when you talk about yourself in a good way and you're passionate about what you do, people like that. And so majority of my business, honestly, it was from I did this person and then I'm doing neighbors and I'm doing their cousins and then and all of it's just me getting face-to-face interaction with them. But what we do every year, the past 3, we're going to be doing the 4th year, is a home and garden show. That was a really big deal for us. So we were like the youngest company, and first time ever doing it, we won like the best in show. So that grabbed a lot of attention for us. And then I market that too. So every time I sales pitch, oh yeah, we won the home and garden show, like it was a big deal. And that was 3 years ago when we won it, and I still use it as a sales pitch. And so a big expense is the home and garden show because there's a lot of planning, because we have X amount of days to build a whole display, and we're putting waterfall and outdoor kitchen, landscaping. So we got to plan our landscaping so like they freeze the plants for us, so it's blooming in February for us, so we kind of tricked the plants, thinking it's springtime. So the home and garden, the first year I did it was crazy. I got like 100+ leads, and then just trying to call on them. And then a big thing too I've learned in this business, and everyone's business is a little bit different. My thing is to just qualifying our leads and not wasting your time with, dead beats or not dead leads. Sorry. So some of you guys can agree with me on that too. So like the first year, I was still young. I was like 26, and I was like, oh man, this is awesome. 100 leads, like trying to call people didn't show up to your appointments, and like people like, yeah, call me back, and you're just wasting time and just qualifying your leads. So now, like last year, we went down from 100 to 40 leads, and out of the 40, we were able to close like I think 7. But these are our projects are pretty large, so they're not like grass cutting sales, they're installs. So we got pretty lucky. But then we also do Facebook, and Facebook, that's how we keep interaction with our clients. And our big marketing is our office pups. So we got 2 doggies that come to our office, and we put them on Facebook all the time, and people love them. I mean, people love dogs. I mean, we love dogs too. And then we do like a Zeus Tuesday, and we'll have them like in the mulch and playing the mulch. We're having our skitzer in our truck, and it's crazy. We'll get like 300-400 likes, and also like pictures of finished product when people love as well too. But we'll get like 100 likes. But anytime I put a dog in it, people love it and they're sharing it. So that's what I've learned. And then I've tried the whole newspaper and direct mail, and it's really not all for us. We've kind of narrowed down our niche of clients that we're targeting, and honestly, just getting face-to-face interaction and asking like, oh, who's that person? Like, your neighbor, and like going out, introducing yourself. Don't be shy. Like, hi, I'm Tony, and I do landscaping. Like, a crazy story too. I was down in St. John's in the Virgin Islands, just doing what I do at the bar, hanging out. It's vacation time. It's in January. I met these couple, and they were building a house in Avon Lake. It was just coincidence, out of towners, and both of us, and they're on their honeymoon. I wrote mine. Didn't have a business card. I'm no shirt on them, and swimming trunks. I wrote my name down on a piece of napkin with a phone number, and I totally forgot about them. A year or so later, they called me, and they spent like $100,000+ and just writing on a napkin. I bought them a drink, and they remembered me and made them laugh, and that was it. So just little things like that,
So being awesome.
Being awesome. And it's hard to be awesome, but I can teach you guys. I'm joking. Here you go.
I'm pretty old school with this, and I'm definitely not awesome. So, yeah, though we try to do some things on Facebook, I'm just not great at that. My son was home from college. He said, Dad, we need a website. I said, go for it. So I thought this would take him, a month. But he comes over next morning, it's done. You want to see it? I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So, yeah, we're blessed with good location. We have a lot of people pass our place. And so a couple of things that we try to do is just advertise with our product. I mean, if I could put a hanging basket in the middle of the highway, I would. And so we put our product out there. Yeah, we get some things stolen, but we say, here it is. We try to keep our place beautiful. Green, we keep the lawns mowed. We do that appearance thing because a lot of people do drive by, and appearance is very important, cleanliness. Think about the last restaurant you visited. If someone said, boy, this restaurant's great, you got to go see it. You got to go eat there. You do that. Word of mouth is so important. So the customers that come in, we want them to go out and tell people, you got to buy your flowers there. So that's kind of, we're old school. We want to satisfy our customer because I think word of mouth is so popular. And that relationship, just like you talked about, if someone walks away and you give them a smile and they smile back, they're going to be visiting, next week maybe. So that's what we try to do.
Awesome. Time flies. We're running low, but there's a couple questions I'd love you all to answer really quickly before we go to the audience questions. It sounds like a lot of you have already thought about this, but I'd like to hear it more pointed. What is your strategy moving forward in terms of revenue streams. You were talking about additional revenue streams, expanding into new markets, reaching new customers, adding new products and services in order to continue combating this sort of seasonality challenge. So just talk a little bit about that, if you would. We'll start with Dan.
Is anybody ready for that? That's loaded.
I'm sorry.
So we're building a new facility. I'm building a 5,000 square feet warehouse, and so I'm gonna have a lot of room to play with and land I can really develop. So I'm thinking about selling firewood in the wintertime, and that's something that guys can stay busy. We're gonna start building. We're gonna have more warehouse space. We're gonna start building pergolas, and I'm gonna sell pergola sets and even create outdoor kitchens. We're gonna do prefab like masons. So we wouldn't put the actual veneer stone on there, but we'll just use the cinder blocks and just have it prepped. So when we do sell something, all we have to have the customer pick out the stone, and that's it. And the snow plowing is huge. So we're really targeting snow plowing this year. And I've done snow plowing since I started the business, but just very little. Now we're growing it where we can really expand from east side to all over the place. We're majority of business in west side, but now we're meeting a lot of contractors, and we just subcontract a lot of stuff out. So that just gives us more revenue right there. And Christmas lights, that's gonna be a slow process, but we're gonna work on it a little bit. But what's really nice about having a slow season in the winter is where you can really focus on like what you need to prove as a company, and that's when we do a lot of training seminars. And I actually started traveling down south to visit other landscaping companies and seeing how they operate their business and learn from them. And I'll tell you what, it's one of the best things I've done was going down to Florida in the wintertime and learning how people operate down there.
So a few different things that we're working on. One is a private label. So we are working on private labeling our marinade as well as our dry rubs that Frank uses in the firehouse. So we're working on that right now. Some different ways we're going to market that is through Amazon. Amazon's a huge retailer, and they have something that's called FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon. So what I do is I ship all of my product to Amazon. They sell it. They provide all the customer service, they take the payment, and they handle all the refunds. The only thing I have to worry about is putting that private label in a box and shipping it to one of their fulfillment centers. So that's one way. Another way is expanding our market. As I talked about earlier, we are mobile, so we can go virtually anywhere. I've already been in contact with a few different wineries and breweries. A lot of them don't have kitchens, so what they do is they want food trucks to come in on their busiest times, like Fridays and Saturdays. So I'm working in collaboration with them, actually having the food truck there throughout the winter season. And also focusing on some indoor facilities like the IX Indoor Amusement Park, or not the amusement park, but the IX Center. They have different events that I can actually bring my food truck in. And another thing that I was thinking about doing was actually providing a service or a consulting service for these food trucks to actually do their social media marketing for them, to do their email news blasts, to work on their websites, because a lot of them have no clue at all what they're doing. So if I provide a monthly service and I actually handle that and subcontract that out, it's, again, thinking smart, but not working hard. So I'm sure there's other things, but I can't think right now. Thank you.
Like you said, we kind of already covered bits and pieces of it, but really if you're looking to cover increasing income, there's 3 ways you can do it. You can expand into other markets, providing the same service or product. You can move vertically in your supply chain, or you can move horizontally. So like Tony's talking about expanding into other similar industries like firewood and Christmas lights, and that's where you're kind of moving horizontally. It's not combined with your current product, but it's related. My personal plan right now is looking at vertically. So right now I work with the suppliers that I use in my store. So the bridal store buys dresses from the designers that I also do work with for the consulting and trade show. So there's a lot of overlap there. And in doing that, I've seen need for the industry to have more production facilities and things like that. So one of the plans that we're looking at is sometime in the next 3 to 5 years, finding a way to open a sewing manufacturing facility in a building that's in the same building with the bridal store, so that we can supply a private label to our own store and to other bridal stores that we have contacts with. We can provide manufacturing to the designers that we already have in a database, and we can increase the product, the margin on the products we're selling to brides. So there's a solution in there, and that would be something that runs all year, because the dresses have to be made prior to the busy season, and then we sell them, and then they have to be made once they're sold. So you find ways for something that's related, if you can stay in your knowledge base, and that's what our plan is to do. So,
Great. Thank you. Dan, are you ready?
Sure, I'm ready. We're really not looking to get bigger. We're looking to get better. Good, better, best, never let rest until good becomes better and better becomes best. It's the saying I like. And at this point in my life, I'm 53. We're really not looking to expand. I like where we're at right now. If we would expand, I'd have to hire way more labor. I'd probably end up losing money. So that's where we're at. Now, if my son decides to come back into business after he finishes college, that may change for us. But one thing my wife and I are trying to do is maybe just enjoy the business more. So we're bringing in some of our hobbies, our outside hobbies, and trying to incorporate them in the business. Recently, we decided to grow chickens for eggs. Oh, what a lot of fun that is. So much fun having chickens running around your house. And so we have 42 chickens. My dad and I, took an old chicken coop this past winter. It was built in the 1930s. We restored it. It was a lot of fun for him and I to do that. So we have chickens on the premises and also at our house. And my wife, she has this artistic side, so we call our eggs Hippie Chick eggs. She trademarked this logo with the little chicken with the peace sign, and the tie-dye shirt. And so we're recently getting 2 to 3 dozen a day. And it's just a nice little thing to bring customers in again that, you're raising your own eggs now. It's one of the fastest growing hobbies in our country right now, this farm to fork movement. So different things like that, but we want to make sure that we're enjoying our business as well. That's one of the reasons we're doing it. Don't forget that, if it's your passion, it's something you enjoy, you're going to do a good job at it, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you. No,
gosh.
All right, I feel like there's so many lessons to be learned from you folks in a very limited amount of time. So if you could summarize the main lesson you've learned, I know Michelle's pretty early on, but I know you've learned something. If you could just summarize the major lesson you've learned in operating a seasonal business, sort of your takeaway so far, and then we'll go to the audience.
All right, the biggest thing, and I wish I paid attention more in the beginning of my business, is understanding your books. It's all about numbers, understanding your numbers, overhead, expense, future stuff, having a timeline and planning everything, and following everything. Run your business. I mean, I do a lot of gut instincts, but you got to base a lot of things on numbers, and having a good CPA too. It's very important. So I mean, I have multiple businesses, so this is not the only thing I do. So just numbers, and everything I've done and succeeded is just all based on numbers.
Kind of tied in with both of the, and I'm awful with names, I'm sorry, Mike, right? Or no, Dan. Dan, sorry. Dan was saying was enjoying the business. I have a 6-year-old and 1-year-old, and I don't want to be busy sometimes. So I'll put in a lot of hours when I know I need to or when I feel like it. And then if I have to take a week because everybody's sick, I can. Sometimes I can't, and then we get it covered. If it's in January or something, you just pray they don't get sick. But I think the lesson can be that seasonal it's beneficial. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people who go from education to the corporate world fear is losing your summer break, because teachers will work like 14 hours for 9 months, but then you get 2.5 months to gain your sanity back. I think I mean, we're the only country in the world that doesn't do that. So to me, I kind of look at it as a necessity instead of a liability, and I try to take advantage of it. So, but numbers too. You can't. I mean, that's the first thing you have to. Yeah, you have to follow your numbers.
Thank you.
I would agree with her. Balance is huge. we're working, we're hustling, and I cannot wait to take my vacation in November. Like, that's what we're looking forward to. It's so important to really love what you do, and it'll show in your work. But yes, the numbers are extremely important, and we are just saving. And we had a seasonal business before that. We ran a sports facility, and it was, our busy time was November through April. And then April through the end of October, we were completely dead, and it was an indoor sports facility. So we learned how to save and, save all of that throughout the summer. So that's how, the lesson we learned from that, and how we're going to utilize it with the food truck.
I guess the two lessons that I learned, still learning, I don't think they're any different for a seasonal worker than a business year-round, but one is observation. You almost have to have a mind's eye up there that can look down on yourself as you're relating to other people, and have that objectivity about yourself, saying, I just didn't do a very good job with that. I need to get better, whatever. You really have to be able to observe. For me, it's the plants. I have to observe plants every morning. So that observation, give yourself time to observation. I had to slow down and do that as a lesson. The other one is I would rather just do stuff. When customers come in, ruins the day. My plants were all in a line. They've messed them up now, I had to slow myself down and say, no, it's that relationship, that customer, what's important. You can have the prettiest plant, but if you're a grouchy son of a gun, So those were the two big lessons for me. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you so much.